Hi friends, this is Gaurav Pal. Welcome to my channel Watercolors Courtyard. So friends, today I am going to demonstrate the making of a painting which can be very helpful for the new watercolor beginners. This demonstration I have prepared keeping in mind the people who are new to the watercolors and who have just started their journey for the watercolor. Okay, so do consider this demonstration for your references. I'm sure by the end of the demonstration you will be able to pick up some of the basic tricks and techniques which you can use for your watercolor painting. And the subject which I have taken up for today's demonstration is shown on the right hand side of the corner. Okay, I'll try to illustrate similar kind of clouds and the trees which you see in the photo. Okay, uh, so try to refer to the same photo which I had shown on the screen. Okay, and in today's demonstration I will be using black, white, cobalt blue, sap green, lemon yellow, and burnt sienna and raw umber. Okay, now I have already started the painting. Okay, and you can see that I have started defining some of the very basic shapes. So this is the zero layer of the painting. Okay, and in this layer we will be working more with water and very less pigments of the color in your solutions. Okay, maybe just some 10 to maybe just up to 0 to 10% of color, and the rest all would be the water. Now you can see that I have used a wash of yellow on the pathway and at some of the other places, and then a wash of cobalt blue. So both yellow and the cobalt blue are the foundation washes which I have done for the green wash. Okay, so the difference between the two is that yellow wash will be actually helpful for keeping the foundation wherever I want to keep a light green, some brightness in my green. Okay, and the cobalt blue would be helpful for the portions and the parts where I want to keep it more darker. Okay, and as we are in the I mean we just done with the zero layer, the wash of the water, and now we have started working on the first layer. Okay, the important layer of our painting. This is a very important layer because this is the layer where you will be using a lot of water and you will be defining as a, I mean not in detail, but at least creating a perception about your actual painting. All right, so this will be here we will be using the wet on wet technique. Okay, the reason it is called wet and wet because in a zero layer we had already moist our paper, and we are using the colors which are also moist. All right, so that's the reason it is called wet on wet technique. Okay, and this layer is important because here you will be able to give some perception about the images and the shapes which you want to make in your painting. Okay, don't use so much of color here. Also you have to use a limited amount of color, maybe just maybe 20 to 30%. all right, and rest would be water, maybe around 60 to 70%. Now you can see that I am blending some of the gray color in my mixture of green just to intensify it more. Okay, so basically I have created two new mixtures. So okay, both in the flavors of the green. Okay, one darker and the other one lighter. Okay, in the lighter one I used the lemon yellow mixture of mine, and in the dark one I used the gray one. All right, so now the darker one I would be using to define the background of the hut, and the the some of the bushes and the trees which are on the left hand side of my painting. Okay, and the reason being because if you refer to the original photos, right, there you can see that those portions were dark, and you can make out the reason. The prime reason behind that was because the source of light is coming from the left hand side top of your painting. Okay, so those parts are receiving lesser light. Okay, they are more shadowing. Okay, while the front of the hut is actually brighter because that is receiving the direct light. Okay, so in this wash you can observe that I have used the for the side of the hut and for the roof of the hut a more thicker or a more denser mix of the color. Okay, a wash was more denser compared to the one which I did for the front side. Okay, so the front was actually a plain wash of the water. Okay, so this is almost the closure of our first layer. Now you can let your painting dry off. Okay, you can use a hair dryer for drying off your painting. I generally use my wife's hair dryer for drying off my painting. Okay, but you can let it happen naturally also, whichever way you are comfortable. I use a dryer because it does it a bit faster, so I don't have to wait for that long. Okay, now as we are on the second layer. Okay, which is called as the wet on dry technique. I'll talk about the technique later, but if you just see right now on the screen, what I did was I sprinkled some of the crystals of the salt. Okay, the home salt, the table salt. Okay, which you use in your food. Okay, on the pathway. And the reason I sprinkle them that they will be actually absorbing some of the water. Okay, and they will help me to give an impression of the grass on the forefront of the pathway. Okay, so you don't have to sprinkle a lot of them. It's just only a limited amount, maybe very little, maybe half of spoon. Okay, and then those salt crystals will do the magic itself. You just have to wait for some time. Okay, but do sprinkle them only when your paper is slightly wet. Okay, now on the top of the roof, you can see that I am using the bottom of the fork. Okay, and that will actually the edge of the fork which actually help me to create the impression of the asbestos on the top of the roof. Similar thing I tried to make on the pathway, but it didn't work because the pathway was not that wet as the roof was. Okay, so I used some color on the pathway to as a stone marks. Okay, but I couldn't able to lift more color from it. Okay, so the impressions came very lightly. Maybe you guys can try in your painting. It may work out well. Okay, now I am trying to give a well-defined shape for my clouds. Okay, so I used first I used some black. Okay, but for very few clouds. Okay, and then I used a little bit of black, intense black in my old mixture of the gray. Okay, so you can see this is now more thicker gray. Okay, and help me to define the clouds more. All right, and now I am trying to define the hut. All right, because that is the prime object in our painting. Okay, and what I am trying to do is like we are almost done with our second layer. Okay, and now we are on the final layer where I am just trying to give some details to my painting. Again, I am trying to make those impressions of the rock. Okay, on the pathway using the edges of the fork, and this is one of the handy tool which I used very frequently in all my paintings to give the impression of rock. You can also try that. All right, and now I am making the wall of the hut a bit darker again. Okay, because that part receives lesser light. Okay, I'm almost about to close my painting, almost done with the painting, just trying to give the final touch to it. Okay, making the front of the bushes more darker, the sides of the wall more darker, especially the areas where which receive less light, right? So differentiate from the other brighter parts, and this is the final touch. The I mean, I just mix some black in my old mixture of the green. Okay, so that's it from my side. If you like my video, please do not forget to like it and subscribe it. Okay, and I'll look forward for you. See you soon. Have a good day. Bye bye. Take care.